are here because the outside world rejects you.
All right, so we're back for part 2 of our Tales of the TMNT Season 1 review podcast. So we have already covered the first 6 episodes of the series. We said we would be back to do the last 6 episodes of the series. It's been weeks.
Yeah.
But we got our act together.
Here we are.
We're here, and we're going to talk about it. And there is
6 episodes.
We're going to break each one of them down, let you guys know our thoughts. And I think just overall, just before we get into it, what did you think just kind of like of the second half of this series?
It was, I don't know. I think it's a hit or miss. I think there was good episodes. I think there's bad episodes. But I don't know. I didn't like it as much as the first half.
Me neither. I think the first half, I don't know if it's just because the Bishop character has more like history.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that carries a little bit more weight.
Yeah.
But I felt similar to where maybe introducing these new characters in the first half of the series would have been better. And then doing the Bishop thing as the second half. That's kind of, I feel like it was rearranged. It was arranged incorrectly. I feel like if it was arranged the other way, I feel like the Bishop thing would have been a better way to end it.
And I feel like those new characters, the reason why I couldn't feel anything towards them is because we don't know if this happened, which we'll talk about. But
right, there is that whole, this one I feel like is a little more it's funny because when we were doing our first podcast, I remember saying like it's clear what happens in the first half. What's happening? It's Leonardo telling a story about events that could have not happened. It's pretty much up to interpretation.
Yes,
I like that approach a little better. This one felt a little messier.
This one was like they knew it was complicated.
Yeah, you could even see them making jokes about it in the dialogue of the characters.
We'll get to that later on. It's in an episode.
Yeah, and it's just, we'll go through it as we go through the events. So I think there's no better way than to just jump into episode 1. So let's go ahead.
Episode 7.
Oh yeah, episode 7. You're right. Yeah, episode 7. But the first episode we're going to be covering right now. Yes, you are correct. Let's do that. And let's take a look.
Let's do it.
Let's finish this together.
Dude, every time
Aren't you
embarrassed?
You're not Batman.
I am Batman.
All right, so episode 7 is called Wrath versus Water. And this has to do with a big storm that's entering the city, right?
Yeah.
And, actually, it actually starts off with April doing a project. Actually, that's what it really is.
This is what we were talking about. And this is one of those scenes that...
This whole situation right here is where I got confused.
Yeah. They shouldn't have done it like this. They should have...
I wonder if they... Because obviously they know what they're doing. Like when it comes but I wonder if there's like... They had to write it this way. Like there was no other way.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm thinking happened because...
They could have avoided all of this by just saying...
Like do it the Leo way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just have Raph directly translating whatever Splinter's saying. Because April's writing this paper on a recording that she did of Splinter telling the events of the story.
And it's for a school paper, right? So she's doing a news report for her school.
Yeah.
Because now the world knows about mutants. It's out in the open.
Yeah.
And so she's doing this for a project. And she's pretty much asking Splinter, like on camera, like, tell us a story, right?
About the storm.
That we just think, yeah, right. The one thing that I got confused about was she must have not been there.
Yeah.
When he must have recorded it by himself because because she says, I have 6 hours of footage. And it's like, how did you not know he was talking in Vermin for 6 hours if you were sitting there with him? That's what I thought, first of all. And then I thought, okay, wait, maybe Splinter just had the phone by himself.
Yeah.
And he gave her, like, here, I'm done. You know what I mean? And now they're reviewing it, and she's like, I can't do anything with this.
Yeah.
I can't do anything with this footage. He's talking in Vermin the whole time.
So Raph steps up, and he's like, I'll give you a story.
Yeah.
So he's going to give a story, like...
A fake story.
A fake story.
On top of whatever Splinter was saying, which now nobody knows what he actually was saying.
Yes.
Though here is where I was. Remember when we did the first half of season 1?
Yeah.
And I said that Leo's was a little bit more definitive of like what was happening in his story. Like you knew it was something that may or may not have happened. He was just making a comic about it. In this one, I was like, it was more confusing, right? That during that podcast, it's actually not. They actually clear it up, is what I'm meaning to say, because he says, Raphael, when he says this story will have, what does he say? It'll have
action, fighting. Just nonstop action, basically.
He says something specific that happens in these episodes. I forget exactly what he says, but April or somebody or Donatello, one of them chimes in and says, none of that ever happened.
Yeah.
Like they say like flat out.
They say it.
Like flat out, it did not happen.
They say it just caused floods.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was just a storm that lasted a long time, just caused floods.
Yep.
So maybe it is a definitive none of this happened.
Which is weird because now that I was looking at the new Mutants Unleashed game, which takes place in the same universe, the same continuity.
Okay.
And they have a Metalhead pack. So where all the turtles you could play as the character as Metalhead.
Okay.
But wearing the different colors.
Well, I think the first one has
more likely to
have happened.
In this one, not so much. We'll see, like if in the movies, like Goldfin or any of these characters.
I think this was them testing the waters
on these new characters.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to get that out of the way because I was super confused during when we had first watched it, because we rewatched it again.
Yes.
To get ready for this podcast, and this time I saw it with like a different set of eyes, and I was like, okay. It is actually pretty clear. It's just confusing.
Yeah, I just think none of this happened.
Yeah.
I'm going to be completely honest. Mm-hmm. And another thing I don't like about this first starting intro scene.
We're not bashing on it, by the way. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it was a fun idea.
Yeah.
But I really wish all this happened.
Mm-hmm. I wish it was like exaggerated stories. Because I know they have to probably keep wiggle room because this isn't a bigger movie universe, right?
Yeah.
So just say these are exaggerated stories.
Yeah.
Like the core of it happened, and some of the things that maybe the movies will contradict, well, it'll be because these things were exaggerated.
Yeah.
But no, I get maybe they weren't even given that much wiggle room. Now that I think about it, maybe they were just like, make it to where we can completely say none of this happened.
Yeah.
Because they're probably like two different departments.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think this getting involved with the movie and the game, all of it, they kind of looked at it and was like, it's going to be so hard to mash these all together.
So we got to do these stories in a way where we can erase them, but still have people enjoy them as they're coming out.
Exactly.
Which is a little disappointing.
Yeah.
I would say. But I've always thought that it was kind of brave of these guys to go from a movie to a show, and not only that, different like I don't know how you say it, like mediums, like 2D and 3D.
Yeah, different art styles.
But yeah, so
I didn't get to what I wanted to bash. Just a little bit more.
Okay.
Is the Raph voice for Splinter.
Right.
Because Splinter doesn't have a voice.
That's right, yes.
They give him a voice, and it's supposed to be Raph speaking over him. Mm-hmm. And making like an impression of him,
right?
Which I don't really like. They did this in the first half too.
Yeah,
but I don't think they gave him Raph's voice. They just let him speak Vermin,
and they just kind of the characters that were interacting with him kind of translated it for the audience, but like they were translating it towards each other.
But this voiceover, I don't know. I don't think I liked it as much.
Well, the thing is, I honestly would have preferred to have someone that sounded like Jackie Chan, maybe, if they couldn't get Jackie Chan. Yeah, I think that would have been a better route. That reminded me, though, of another point, is, so at the beginning, right, it's him, Raphael, doing the voiceover over him, Donatello, and April watching that video of Splinter speaking in Vermin.
Yes.
And so Splinter, it's supposed to be just Raphael doing a voiceover, right?
Yes.
But then when you start getting deeper into the stories and you cut back to Splinter telling the story, now Splinter's telling it to them, and they're all sitting in front of him, and I'm like, wait, what happened? Why is Splinter now telling the story? I thought they were watching a video of Splinter and Raph was doing the voiceover there. Like, it's almost like a make-believe storytelling of a make-believe story. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's too many
layers. It gets too confusing. At least, or maybe maybe I'm just not that smart.
Maybe we're not getting it.
Yeah, maybe it's something we are like, completely going over our heads that everybody in the comments is going to be like, guys, it was just this. What are you talking about? But I could have swore I was paying attention, and that's how it seemed.
I've watched it twice now.
Yeah.
Two times, and I still didn't get it.
Yeah. Okay.
I got it a little bit better the second time. Like, I don't think any of this happened.
It's a fun show.
It's a fun show.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But in today's day, I feel like it's got to be tight. Like,
I got to know.
It's got to be tight. And those parts were a little messy where I was just kind of like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
But
I enjoyed the stories.
Yeah, once you get into the stories, it's fun.
Yeah.
Those are the parts that are fun. So we're going to get into that. I just wanted to clear this up because this was the part on the first half of the podcast where you and I were we couldn't articulate it or something. We were just kind of like, what the frick is happening with that second half? Like, and this is it.
Yeah. I think second watch, it gets a little easier, but still hard to tell.
Yeah. Okay, so that was our issue.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the fun stuff.
Yeah, let's get into the actual story.
Yeah, because this part, there's actually some cool stuff here.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed little pieces and bits of it, and overall, I like the ending.
Yeah.
And I hope the ending's real. I like it.
Me too.
What it sets up.
Me too. Yes. So, yeah, the story then starts off now that Raph's doing the voiceover. How did it pick up?
So after we see all the Splinter talking as Raph, the intro plays, and then the story starts right after the intro finishes.
Right. It's Raph and he's in the lair, right?
Well, yeah, it cuts down. It's like a panning shot of going into the sewer. And you hear like Wingnut and Donnie making some references, which we'll hear a lot in their episode. They make a lot of references. But this first one, they talk about Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Okay.
Which I thought was cool. And then you can see the only mutanimals that are in the den are like Wingnut, Ray Fillet, Scumbug, Pigeon Pete, and Genghis Frog.
Right. No Bebop and Rocksteady.
No Bebop and Rocksteady. No Leatherhead.
No. Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. And so, this kind of goes back to the Mutant Mayhem movie.
Yeah.
At the end of the Mutant Mayhem movie, they all go to live in the sewers with them.
Yes.
Although it seems like they live nearby in the sewers because during this flood, it's almost like they're here because they have to be in their home.
But Raph starts getting angry about this like noise he's hearing. Sounds like a drilling, but like a banging at the same time.
And they can't do anything about it because it's raining outside.
Yeah.
It's just the storm is flooding everything. And so, now they're all forced to be together because of this storm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because they're all kind of on top of each other, things are falling. This is kind of starting to upset Raphael.
Yeah.
Raphael's like banging his toe or something. And like things are going wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And eventually Splinter tells him, you need to go meditate.
Yeah.
You need to meditate, and Raph goes, do I have to or some shit?
Yeah.
And then he goes and he actually meditates and he takes it seriously for like, you could tell it's like a breakthrough Splinter's had. Like, I got him to actually meditate.
Yes.
And then as he's doing this, there's like a jackhammer going off immediately as he sits down to meditate, and this causes Raph to snap.
Yeah.
Right.
And also Scumbug going down, sitting next to him.
Yeah.
Just annoyed him.
Yeah. And so Raph starts flipping over tables. He starts like he snapped.
Yeah.
And he even like grabs Leonardo at one point and like pins him up against the wall, and they like kind of start fighting. And I was like, is this the Raphael Leonardo rivalry?
I hope we get to see that. I hope we somewhere down the line.
Yeah, I hope it actually gets serious, because that's kind of like obviously you got to make up at the end of the day.
Yes, of course.
Because they're brothers. But there has to be something where the two of them clash a little bit.
Yeah.
That's kind of it's kind of like a staple in Turtles.
It is.
So Splinter tells everybody to calm down because this starts like a big like group fight amongst like a bar room fight like you would see in a Western, right? And Splinter tells everybody to calm down. Like, you guys maybe do need to go out, even though it is raining. Like, whatever. You guys can deal with the flood. You guys are skilled.
Yeah.
And he starts pairing them up, right? Who does he pair up with who?
Mikey and Genghis to go get groceries.
Okay.
Leo and Pigeon Pete just to give Pigeon Pete some air.
Mm-hmm.
Donnie and Wingnut to go fix the Wi-Fi because they're like the little... They know tech.
Yep.
And then finally, this episode, which focuses on Ray Fillet, Scumbug, and Raphael.
Right. And then, they go off to go inspect the drilling sound. Like, what is that anyways?
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, this does do the same thing that the first half of the season did, where for these first few episodes in this arc, it splits the turtles up. That's why they all get paired with the different mutanimals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they all, Raph and Scumbug and Ray Fillet, they go check out what the drilling is.
Mm-hmm. And we see that Raph enjoys the mutanimals he's with. Like, they don't really speak.
Right. They have like...
Scumbug speaks Vermin, I think.
Yeah, and then Ray Fillet just says the one line, Ray Fillet, which got me thinking he's kind of like Groot.
Yeah.
He's kind of like this is like the Turtles' version of Groot.
But I'm going to be honest, I think that throws me off on this episode a little bit. Because we're only getting dialogue from Raphael the whole time.
Right. At least until they get closer to where the drilling's coming from, right? Because when they arrive, they see that there's a man in a like industrial drill, right? Drilling a wall, like a big machine.
Yeah.
Like a big excavator.
Yeah.
And he's drilling into the wall, and he's almost doing it against his will, it seems like.
Yeah.
Right? Raph goes to ask him, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, and he's like, the man is scared of Raphael.
Yeah, and he starts questioning, like, he's like, you're working with them? We don't know who's them yet.
No, exactly.
So, Raph's confused. And then, like, while he's talking to the guy, tentacles come up and grab Scumbug from behind Raphael. And another one comes up and grabs Raph too.
Right.
After he's like, Scumbug, where'd you go? And after pulling them underwater, after getting dragged in the water with Scumbug, Raphael ends up getting her free by like cutting the tentacles with his sai.
Yep.
And then they go out of the water, and these 4 weird squid mutant things.
Yeah, I think they're called the sea enemies. At least that's what I saw in one of like the promotional art.
Yeah, I don't think they say it though until the very last episode.
Yeah, I don't think I didn't even catch that. I just remember the little promo thing.
Yeah, they only speak in ads, like ads they saw on TV.
So think like a used car commercial.
Yeah, like buy 2 get 1 free.
Yeah, and that's the way they speak to each other.
Yeah.
And like the little like lines they're saying has meaning behind them.
Yes.
But they're in those like infomercial type way. Yeah.
Which I kind of find funny.
It's interesting.
But it also falls into that category of like, Raphael's the only dialogue we really get.
Yeah, no, it's true.
So then the sea enemies start fighting Raphael because he doesn't understand them.
Nope.
He doesn't know what they want. And they just start beating him up. After like beating him and Scumbug up bad.
Right.
They're over talking to the drill guy, telling him to keep drilling. And
the sea enemies are. And Raphael then calls Scumbug and Ray Fillet disappointing. And I agree. Like, Ray Fillet isn't here in any of this. There's at some point during the fight, doesn't he just like dive into the water?
He just dives into that was before.
Okay.
It was when they were walking through the tunnels. Ray Fillet was swimming, and Raphael was like, don't swim in there. It's poop water.
Okay.
And then he just vanishes. He doesn't show up again until later on.
I wonder where he went.
Me too.
But he comes back, right? When they need him.
Yes. Well, right here, the drill eventually breaks the wall.
Okay.
Because the enemy told him to keep going. Water starts flooding into the sewers. And Raph and Scumbug both get taken by the current.
Right.
And Raphael gets trapped. His leg gets stuck between a rock and a grate.
Yep.
But Scumbug keeps going. Raphael goes under the water, drowns. Or doesn't drown, passes out.
Yeah.
From the water.
Just as he's closing his eyes,
you
can start see Ray Fillet start swimming towards
him. Which, there he goes. He shows up.
Even though, where did he go?
Why wasn't he here?
Not explained.
Yeah.
So yeah, next thing you know, Raph, it does look like he passes out, at least for like a second.
Yeah.
And then Ray Fillet wakes him back up.
Yes.
And now he's there with Scumbug and Ray, and he apologizes to them. He tells them, I'm sorry for what I said.
Yeah.
And they go back, right, to fight the sea enemies, and they win this time.
Yes.
And they go to the guy that was drilling, and they start like asking him questions like, what was this? Like, what is happening here?
Yep.
And the guy tells them that there are others.
Yes.
Not just the sea enemy guys. There are others, and that they want him to break down the seawall so they could flood the city or something like that. And then he also has like a map of the Natural History Museum.
Mm-hmm.
So it's already, you're kind of starting to see like something's
Yeah.
going to go down there at the museum.
Mm-hmm.
And Raph, it looks at the map of where it is and stuff. And then we get our introduction to those other guys that he was talking about.
Yes.
And it's the East River 3.
Yes, the main antagonists.
Yes, the main antagonist of this second half
Yes.
of season 1. And they're like these sea creatures. I think it's a seahorse,
Yes.
an electric eel, and a goldfish.
A goldfish.
Yeah, the goldfish is the leader. His name is Goldfin.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Mustang Sally, which is the seahorse. And then you have Lee the eel.
Lee the eel.
Right?
And this is the first time these guys have ever shown up ever in any Turtles.
No, I've never seen these characters ever. And people can let us know down in the comments if maybe it was like some obscure comic that we haven't seen.
I think they fit in. I think their
Yeah.
whole design.
Yeah,
looked
makes
good.
sense. Yeah, makes sense.
How they show up is 3 big waves coming down the sewers.
Mm-hmm.
And Raph tells him, Ray Fillet, Scumbug, and the guy Drillin to hide.
Yes, they kind of just
Hide
they're peeking. What
Yes.
are they talking about when they show up? Like, what are they going to talk about?
Yeah, those 3 pop up from the water.
Yep.
First time ever seeing them.
Yep.
Goldfin starts telling the other 2 that they're sticking to the plan after the sea enemies. They're still there
Yeah.
after being beaten up, and they tell them, hey, there was a turtle.
Right.
They go, hey, there's a turtle here. But Goldfin's like, we're sticking to the plan. Let's just get out of there. So him and Mustang Sally leave. But Lee the eel stays behind. She starts sniffing around because she smells something.
That's right.
And she checks where Raph and the other 3 were hiding.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not there. They
No.
moved over around the side.
Yeah, they kind of saw her coming, so they kind of like tucked away somewhere.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you're right. She's not able to actually find them. And so
She goes into the wall and like
burrows in.
burrows
right?
in.
Which ends up, you start realizing later that she's
It's
starting
a
to make
huge.
Yeah, she's making cracks.
Yeah.
Throughout the city. Anyways, we'll get to that when we get there. But I think that's where the episode ends,
Yeah,
right?
Raphael just says he needs to warn the others,
Mm-hmm.
and we cut back to Splinter telling the story,
Like, next time you'll find out what happened or something.
and he tells us that next episode's Michelangelo.
So yeah, that's the first episode. This first episode, what did you think just overall? I thought it was quick. It was just kind of it's setting up things.
Yeah,
Nothing like crazy. Obviously, it's supposed to be the start, so
Yeah.
it did its job. It's just setting up what's going to happen. I think the stuff you were saying is valid. The dialogue, there's not too much characters with dialogue.
I think they gave Raph the weakest people to work with, the weakest side characters and enemies.
Right. Because later on, you have Michelangelo,
Yeah,
and then you got Leonardo, who has a really good side character to work with, especially at the end.
yeah.
And then, yeah, Donatello, too, has very talkative characters, though.
Very talkative, but we'll get to that one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I feel similarly to how I felt about this episode and that one.
Interesting.
We'll see.
Okay. Well, yeah, overall, it's fine.
It's fine.
Did its job.
It started the second half off.
Definitely not one of the stronger episodes, though. You're right.
No.
Add in a fight, put some monsters in there, maybe a heist or something. I don't know. Have Donnie get eaten. Hey!
None of that happened.
So?
All right. So the next episode, episode 8, is called Mikey Takes Charge.
Mm-hmm.
And this one starts off with back with Splinter. Like, we're
Yeah.
back with him telling the turtles the tale.
Telling us, or I guess to the people watching April's project,
Yeah.
this would be.
Right. And this is the one where Michelangelo meets the character one of the East River 3, Lee the Eel.
Yes.
But it starts off with his pairing with Genghis Frog.
Yes.
Him and Genghis Frog are told to go get groceries or something.
Yeah, because Genghis ate all of them in the den during the storm.
Okay.
Because I guess that's his character. He likes eating food.
Yes, that's kind of like a new thing
Yes.
that we figured out about him.
But yeah, so they come out of the sewers, and also I noticed in this scene, because Genghis and Mikey are talking, he's cracking jokes, because Genghis is really funny character.
Yeah, he's like very like dead face about everything.
Yeah.
But it's funny.
But it's funny.
Yeah.
And he was voiced by Hannibal Buress. like
In the movie.
in the movie.
Yep.
And they switched it. They changed it for
Okay.
this show.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I barely noticed it either until I watched it and I looked it up and I was like, huh.
I thought it was Hannibal the whole time.
I know. I thought they would have changed Ray Fillet, like from Post Malone to somebody else.
But that was still Post.
It was still Post Malone.
Okay.
But Genghis,
It worked out good. 'Cause
It worked out.
I couldn't tell. This is what they should have done with Splinter.
yeah, I feel like this would have worked so much better with Splinter because I didn't notice with Genghis.
No, yeah, because with Splinter, it would have been. It's more of a major character, so I feel like it would have benefited more, like
Yeah.
because you wouldn't have had like how he's speaking in Vermin and
Yes.
how you have this Raph telling the story within the story. Like it would have, that would have helped out a lot.
It would have really just made the storytelling a lot more.
Right. But yeah, no, back to where you were. You were saying that they go up to the surface, right?
Yeah.
Mikey and Genghis Frog.
Have a funny conversation, and it cuts from that conversation, and it shows a shot of cracks going through New York, like through the streets, and just randomly appearing.
And that's Lee the Eel, like how we had seen her get away.
Yes.
In the previous episode, under the ground. That's what she's doing. She's
Yes.
kind of like. It's explained later. Should we talk about it now? Why she's doing this?
Nah.
No. Okay. She's just.
They don't explain it.
Yeah, they don't explain it till later.
Yeah.
So she's pretty much just what we know right now is cracking under the streets
Yes.
of New York,
Heading somewhere.
and we just kind of see it happen, and then we cuts back over. You're right, to
Yeah.
Michelangelo and Genghis. Mikey and Genghis go into a liquor store or a grocery store.
Convenience store.
Okay, and then there,
Angel's there at the cash register holding the cashier.
that's right. We get to see the purple dragons again.
They're there.
This this is a part where I was like, okay, then did these events happen?
Yeah.
Because how would Angel know? Because she says she knows about Raphael and stuff.
Yes.
So, and that was from a make-believe story, and this is also a make-believe story. But
So how did they...
it's almost like there's a continuity of Ninja Turtles within the Mutant Mayhem continuity.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it looks like they're going for. Sorry, I just had to say that. 'Cause
Yeah,
when you
no,
said Angel, and I immediately thought of that. Like, wait, that kind of connects the two stories.
But at the beginning here, Mikey doesn't know it's Angel.
No,
He
right.
doesn't know
Right, you're right.
who she is. And Genghis is over here next to Mikey, just eyeballing a cat. He's staring at a cat,
Yeah,
and
the cat hisses at him or
the
something.
cat hisses at him.
and like runs away. Like
Yeah.
first, it tries to mad dog him
Yep.
back, but Genghis just
Yeah.
blank stare, like he is not like budging.
And I love that kind of comedy.
And
It's,
the cat's just like, oh crap, like, and just kind of walks away.
I'll say it right now. Genghis is one of my favorite characters that they adopted into this show.
Yeah.
His just stale humor.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
By the way, they called this group the Mutanimals. Did they ever call them that in the movie? Is this the first time we get them called the
I feel
Mutanimals?
like yeah, this might be the first time they call him that. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe somebody will tell us in the comments.
Yeah, but I felt like this was the first time I heard them actually specifically
Yeah.
call this group the Mutanimals.
I feel so.
Yeah.
And then Mikey leaves to go get the food.
Right.
Go off the grocery list that Splinter wanted.
Right.
And Mikey sees a customer being threatened by a purple dragon. There's this third purple dragon we've never seen before. Her
Right.
name's Kane.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he doesn't notice anything wrong. She's holding a hockey stick with a knife attached to it.
Right. Like Mikey is so good at heart
Yeah.
that you're right. There's like these purple dragons,
Yeah.
like you said, in the store. Like, and you could tell, like, they have like these like civilians, like at, like you said, like a knife point or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they're like threatening them. And Mikey, and obviously he's walking through the
Yeah.
aisles and he's looking at them, and he's kind of like so innocent.
Yeah, he just sees it as two people.
And they're all like, nothing's going on over here.
yeah.
You know what I mean? The purple dragon guys. And then it takes Mikey a second to put it together. And you're right. He eventually goes, wait, are you guys robbing this place?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the part. Yeah.
And so he recognized that after he notices that they're robbing the place,
Yeah.
he recognizes them. He goes, "You guys are the purple dragons. Raph told me about you."
Yep.
So
The connection.
the connection,
So again,
it happened.
it happened.
It had to have happened.
Yeah.
But they say it doesn't happen. Why are they so strongly telling
forth. They're very back and forth about it. It seems like the parts where they say that this absolutely didn't happen, like they did at the beginning of this second half of the season, they should have left that out. They should have left it up to interpretation as this could have happened.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just Raphael telling the story because he does know the purple dragons. So this also could be fake. It's so confusing and up to the mind of the viewer.
Yeah.
But there's so many telltale signs if it's fake or if it's real. It's like there's so many, like, it is fake, it is real. Just talking about it, you can talk yourself into thinking it's real. You can talk yourself into thinking it's fake.
That's probably the most accurate like explanation that I feel like you and I have had in our discussions about this.
Yes.
Is that so? He realizes they're the purple dragons.
Yeah. And then Angel mentions Raph stealing her motorcycle.
Okay, so that's brought up.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes. And then Genghis goes and tries eating the cat.
And doesn't this upset Hun?
It upsets Hun.
Because he's like an animal person.
He loves animals.
Yep.
Even though he fights with the turtles all the time.
Right.
But he's supposed to be this big animal guy.
Yes.
So Hun tries hitting Genghis with the Bricky.
Uh-huh.
And Mikey starts fighting with Hun to protect Genghis. A fight breaks out in the whole building, but it starts randomly shaking.
Those cracks again.
Those cracks.
From the streets. Now they're happening underneath the store or something, right?
Yes. We see a crack going towards it, and inside, and a hole appears in the ground.
Like a sinkhole, right?
Yeah.
It starts filling up with water.
Yep. And Miss Catry, the cashier, ends up falling into that hole that was made by the crack. And Mikey goes down to save her.
Yes. So yeah, Mikey gets the store owner out of the hole.
Yeah.
But they start telling the rest of them like, hey, we saw something down there.
Yep.
And is this the part where everyone starts asking Mikey like what to do? Like they're all looking at him like, you should know what to do because you're one of the heroes of the city. But what they don't know is that Mikey's not the leader.
No, Mikey's just, he goes along with whatever Leo says.
Yeah.
Or anybody, any other turtle.
Yeah. And so, but this is the first time he's been put in a leadership position where everyone's looking at him to lead.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, I guess the first thing I would do is everybody get on top of the shelves.
Yes.
And so everybody starts getting on top of the shelves, except for one of the characters, right?
Yes, the purple dragon Kane.
Uh-huh.
She doesn't listen. And she just tries walking to the exit, but we see a fin start following her.
Right.
And the fin is Lee the Eel, and she drags her underwater. During all of this, by the way, Genghis still trying to eat the cat.
Right.
So, with that, Genghis jumps into the water. Because he's like, I don't care about staying on the shelves. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'll get this cat no matter what.
Right.
Mikey tells him, or tells everybody, that the water's electrifying.
Yeah.
Like, it's getting sparks and electricity's running through it. And since Genghis jumped to get the cat, the electric water shocks him back up.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, maybe I don't want the cat that bad.
Yeah. He just says it in like the calmest way, but he's totally messed up at this part. Yeah, I remember that. They even do like this funny, like, please stand by, like, frame. I don't know if you caught it.
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do.
And it's just like Genghis Frog being electrocuted.
So after all this stuff with Genghis, all this comedy, Mikey realizes whatever's in the water isn't a snake, but it's an eel.
Right.
It's turning the water electric. And then Lee comes up from the water and she tackles Michelangelo through the wall.
Right. They go into like a separate room.
Yeah, they go into like a storage area for the convenience store.
Mm-hmm.
She told Michelangelo that Goldfin told her that the turtles were going to try and stop them.
But Mikey doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah. So Mikey starts talking to her about the museum because that's where she says she needs to go.
Okay.
So now we understand what the map was for. And she tells him, I need to go there. But that she thinks he's mocking her.
She's very sensitive.
She's very sensitive to everything Mikey's saying, thinking he's lying.
Right.
But Mikey keeps trying to talk her out of it. Like, I'm not lying.
Like, he's being honest.
I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But then Mikey laughs when he finds out her name.
Right. That makes them laugh because it's backwards.
It's backwards. It's just eel backwards. And this makes her upset.
She continues to start attacking him, and it goes back into the store.
Back into the store.
And the purple dragons and the customers all start throwing food
Yeah.
at Lee the Eel.
To help Mikey.
Right. And then during this fight, Mikey does notice that she's standing in front of like these wires.
Yeah, like loose hanging from the ceiling.
Because of all the chaos that's been going on, yeah, there's some wires like dipping down from the ceiling, right? And it's like a perfect little thing to, like a trap.
Yes.
To trap Lee the Eel in if he could get her to jump through it, right?
Yeah.
And so he tries to like upset her to kind of like lure her in.
Yeah.
To that trap. And so at first he starts apologizing about making fun of her name, right? But then he says, I'm just kidding. It's like a terrible name, right?
Yeah.
And this gets her upset even more. And it causes her to, well, he kind of goes, oh, like catch me if you can type thing. And he kind of does this jump through that little trap. But since he's like a ninja, he's like perfect at like keeping his like body still.
Avoids it.
And he doesn't get caught in the trap as he goes through the trap. But she like gets stuck in it as she falls through. Now she's not in the water.
Yep.
And so the water's not electrified anymore.
So now that the water's de-electrified, because Lee the Eel's stuck up there now,
right?
Everyone starts to leave.
Right.
Purple dragons, like nothing ever happened. Like they didn't try robbing the store. As everybody's leaving, Genghis walks out, and he has the cat in his mouth.
But it's a joke this time. He like spits it out or something.
Yeah, he spits it out and says, "My hands were full. I improvise." Which throughout this whole episode, Mikey was saying he needs to improvise.
Yes.
He needs to figure out how to do stuff on the go. So Mikey goes back into the store and he wants to talk to Lee. He wants to know what she was talking about. But she's not there anymore. She got out of the wires and all the water's gone.
Right.
So
that's it. She's kind of back to digging and making those cracks.
Yes.
We'll see her a little later.
Yeah. And Mikey says, we got to go warn the others.
Right.
Just like how Raph did in the last episode.
And I believe, is that where the episode ends?
So then it just shows us Splinter telling us that next episode is going to be him and April versus Goldfin.
Right. And that's
where it ends.
Yeah, episode 9. Well, let's go ahead and dive into it.
Okay.
You're going to love it. Miss Catchery is super friendly. She gives us food, instead of borrowing stuff like we used to.
You mean stealing?
Okay, so episode 9 is called Splinter and April Fight a Goldfish.
Okay.
And the episode starts off with Splinter. I think he's listening to the radio and he's hearing about all the stuff that's going on up above, sort of like the Lee the Eel making the cracks and like sinkholes appearing, things like that. We cut over to the sewers and we get little glimpses of like Lee the Eel, like getting away from the situation that she was just in with Michelangelo. So it's like it's pretty much just showing like the story's progressing now.
Yeah.
We're moving from that thing that just happened to the new thing.
Which doesn't happen in the later episodes.
No.
In the later episodes, it starts going, oh, now we're back over here.
Yeah, that's what they even make fun of. That's the part we were talking about earlier where they kind of make fun of it.
But so far, everything seems to be in chronological order.
Yep.
After we see Lee the Eel escaping, we cut over to April standing outside an apartment. She's talking about how it's been raining for 4 days straight.
Right.
Nonstop.
Is she recording during this? I think she is. She's recording.
She's recording the cracks, I think. April goes to take a photo of the crack, but then lots of rats start coming out of it. Like lots of rats.
Right.
And
which play a big part.
Yes.
Kind of more than I thought they would in the series. I thought that this was just like a one-time.
It's kind of subtle foreshadowing of this episode.
Yeah.
All the rats coming out for like,
which the rats actually foreshadow something I feel as well, which we'll talk about.
Yes.
Also when we get there.
April realizes that the sewers are probably being flooded by the storm.
Right. She starts to worry about Splinter, right?
Yeah. So she thinks to check up on him.
And and that next part we see April calls Splinter. She's calling like Donatello's laptop, right?
Yeah.
And Splinter sees it ringing. And so he goes up to it and you can tell like he's not that good with technology. He is able to answer the call.
Yes.
But you hear him say something like, I was able to answer the call, April. Aren't you proud of me?
Yeah.
Something like that. And then April's trying to persuade him to leave the sewers. Like, it's flooding. You guys are going to potentially drown down there. You don't have to live in hiding anymore. The world knows about you. But you can tell Splinter has like an attachment to the sewers. He says anything good that's ever happened to me happened to me here down in the sewers, and this is our home. We're not leaving. And but something happens with the call, right? Like they lose signal, and then April says, well, there's no signal like anywhere in the city. I think it's because of the storm. Yeah. And so she's just gonna have to go check on Splinter herself.
Yes.
But before she gets down there, we cut back over to Splinter, and this is where like something falls into the water behind him just as he gets off of this call, and he's like, wait, what's that?
Yeah. It's Goldfin.
Yeah.
He pops out of the water and he kicks him right in the face.
Right.
Like right as he's like, what was that?
Right.
Just boom, out of the water, Goldfin kicks him in the face.
And it's brutal. He's a good fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least for like this type of show, like he can fight.
Him and Splinter start fighting for a long time. But then after Splinter kind of gets the upper hand and Goldfin escapes through the water, just vanishes.
Right. So it's almost like maybe there's just a one and done thing. Like Splinter doesn't really know if he's coming back.
He just got like surprise attacked and then the guy left.
Right. And it's around this time that April shows up, and this, front in Splinter, because he just got sneak attacked by this mutant goldfish, and he's trying to tell her about it.
Yeah.
But she's kind of like, what are you talking about? Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just like
you got a pet goldfish?
Yeah. She doesn't take him seriously.
Yeah.
And she's more concerned about his safety in the sense of like the flood. Yeah. And she's like, come up to the city with us.
Yeah.
But you kind of get this moment here where Splinter gets a little emotional. He's just kind of like, you guys go, or she tells her to go back up with the turtles. Keep having your fun. Keep having your friends and your parties and stuff.
After this emotional moment, Splinter tells April that he thinks the goldfish is gone. He's like, I don't think it's here anymore. But right as he says this, Goldfin jumps out of the water, kicks him in the face again.
Yeah.
Literally just like how he did the first time. And Goldfin starts going after April now. As Goldfin's running after April, Splinter kicks Goldfin onto a table. April really quickly grabs a bucket, puts it over Goldfin.
Caught. He's caught. Yeah, and then they end up putting him like in an aquarium or something after that, and they start interrogating him. Yep. Like, who are you? This is when we see Goldfin tell the origin of the East River 3, so him, Mustang Sally, and Lee the Eel.
Okay.
So you kind of get a scene here from the Mutant Mayhem movie, but from a different angle. Kind of how in the first half of the season where Bishop, you saw her angle and like her point of view from the Mutant Mayhem events. Here, though, is we see how they got mutated. It looks like they were just like regular sea creatures.
Yeah.
And they were in this like little community at the bottom of the ocean where their little community was centered around this pearl. This very, like, obviously valuable money-wise to humans, but to them it was like valuable in the sense because it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Anyways, the origin continues. We see the event of when Superfly in the Mutant Mayhem movie, when he got pushed from the docks with his big like mutagen ray gun thing into the ocean, and you see him falling. We see Superfly in 2D. It's our first look at Superfly in 2D, or at least, because we saw Super Duper Fly.
Yeah, and we saw his leg crash.
But this is the first time we see Superfly, regular Superfly in 2D, and I thought the design looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we see that when he fell to the bottom of the ocean and the ray gun went off, which turned him into Super Duper Fly, it also mutated this little community of sea creatures that, were around this pearl, or at least it mutated these three, the East River 3 and also the sea enemies.
Yep.
And they're all I don't know if they mention it here, but we can go ahead and mention it. They get casted out.
Yes.
Because they got mutated. So like their little sea creature friends were like, what did you guys become? Like, get out of our community or whatever. And that's pretty much how they got mutated. So they, I think Splinter even says, we're like cousins once removed or something.
Yeah, cousins once removed. And that's a really funny joke. Again, with the continuity thing. So this could have all happened.
You're right.
This could be real. Again,
it's showing real events.
Real events.
My goodness, this show just it keeps pulling you back.
It's
out,
a roller coaster.
in and out.
This second half alone,
yeah,
is a roller coaster. The first half, you can say it's real.
right.
You could say he exaggerated it, but it's real.
Because there was nobody saying this never happened.
Yes.
In this one, you have someone specifically say at the beginning,
yes,
but none of that ever happened. But now you're seeing things in the story of things that actually happened.
So
yeah, I could see what
this matches the continuity, and it could work.
Yep.
But they deliberately told us at the beginning
that
none of this happened,
Yep.
and that's going to stick in my brain the whole time I'm watching this show.
This second half, that did stick. I remember, yeah, and we might be going on about this a lot, this specific point, but it's not just us.
It's not just us.
I remember in the comments of when we said we were going to do this podcast, there was a lot of people talking about this specifically. And I personally think it's super easy fix. Just do it the way, if you have to do it this way, do it the way you did the Leonardo one, the first half. Just do it like that where it could have happened, but there's no promises that some of this stuff is going to be kept.
Yes.
Because at least some of it you could keep, and then people could be like, well, at least like the time I invested into the show, some of it pays off.
Some of it pays off.
Right? That's kind of what I feel is the better approach. The second half, not so much.
No.
That's kind of how I sort of feel about it. The reason I feel like the first strategy is the one they should do is because I do enjoy the story. So it's not a knock on the story. I thought the story was cool. I just wanted some of it to be real.
I hate that they're knocking on it.
Yeah.
Trying to say it's not real.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's it. Not too hard of a fix. I think just a simple tweak in season 2 of just, keep doing what you're doing where you keep it loose.
Yeah.
Where some things might not be real, but be exaggerated stories.
Yeah.
You can still say it's because I have a feeling I know what they're going to do. I think season 2, it's going to be Donatello telling a story and Michelangelo telling a story, right? That's going to be season 2. Yeah. Do those two the same way you did Leo's. But yeah, let's jump back into the story.
Back into it. So the flashback ends.
Yeah.
Goldfin says that they want a home and that he came here to warn them. He also tells them that they already dealt with a turtle and they'll do it to the M2 and whoever else gets in their way.
Right.
Then a loud boom goes off in the sewers. So Splinter and April go to check it out. But Goldfin, as April and Splinter are walking away, starts cutting a circle in the aquarium with his little fin, his gold fin.
Yeah, they're sharp.
They're very sharp.
Their scales are sharp. You see them at the end. They do some damage. Yeah. So yeah, we jump back over to Splinter and April who go check out what that sound was.
Yeah.
And we see that they look down like a tunnel and a bunch of water starts coming down. You can see that it's a big flood, likely from the drilling earlier.
Yeah.
That caused all that water to start coming in. And now they're in this like split in the tunnel, and Splinter pushes April out of the way into one of the like side tunnels.
Yeah.
As he gets swept away by the water.
Yes.
April, because she got pushed, ends up back into the lair, where now the sea enemies are now there.
Yes.
And Goldfin, who escaped because he cut himself out of the aquarium, and they tie April up. And this is when Goldfin starts to spill like his whole plan to April.
Yep.
Even though she's saying, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear any of this.
Because he told her, he was like, I'm going to have to kill you.
Yeah.
And she was like, don't tell me then.
And he's like, no, I'm
going to tell you anyway.
And he starts telling her the whole plan, where it's going to happen at the museum. And it doesn't seem good for April. It seems like he's about to kill her.
Yeah.
And at this point in the story, I believe his plan is to flood the city.
Yeah.
So that they can have a new home. Him and his friends, because they got kicked out of their home. At least that's what the plan is right now. The plan evolves. That's kind of like the whole point of Goldfin is that you'll see at the end how his plan evolves. Yeah.
He kind of doesn't stick in one place. But also, I think he told that to Splinter earlier on.
Yeah.
About how he wanted a home. And Splinter tells him, you can live here in the sewer. And he goes, this is the best place you got for yourself?
Yeah, that's right. So he's always he always wants like bigger and better things. Like, but like in an unhealthy way. Like he'll do bad things to get it.
Yeah, starts eating at him. Right?
Yeah.
So then we cut over to Splinter.
Right.
What happened? Where he went. and he wakes up because the water took him out. He wakes up with a crown on his head.
Right.
And so...
It's like an old Burger King crown.
An old Burger King crown. And a few rats come to talk to him, which we saw them earlier, and he was telling them, we can't keep doing this.
Right. That was a funny little scene.
He was like, my sons don't know about you.
Yeah, so he has a little relationship with the rats.
He treats them as his other children.
Yeah. Which he hides from his real children, which is funny.
Yeah.
But then you can see like they worship him.
Yeah.
That's why they gave him the crown.
And they brought him food.
Right. Which, again, he's a rat and he's got a king's crown. So Rat King, you start seeing teases of at least the words, the Rat King, right?
Yeah.
Even though Splinter's not the Rat King. Like,
no.
Obviously, there's a character specifically called the Rat King.
Yes.
But I think they were foreshadowing that.
100%.
And later on, you'll see that they foreshadow it more.
Yes. So these rats think he's a king.
Mm-hmm.
Think he's the Rat King. And they made him a statue.
Yeah. Which is ugly.
It's ugly. Made out of trash. That looks like it was made in a sewer, which it was.
Yes.
And they tell Splinter April was taken by the sea enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And then he tells him in Vermin that he needs their help.
And then we cut back over to April, and we see that Goldfin is about to kill her.
Yeah.
And just as he's about to do it, you see his little like blade, like it's up to her face or something.
Yeah.
And this is when you start seeing like some rats coming through the ceiling. And then first it's a few, then it's like a big old horde of rats.
Yep.
And they start attacking Goldfin and the sea enemies.
Yeah.
But then Splinter shows up.
Yeah.
And we see that he's in the shadows at first. Like you kind of just see like a bunch of red eyes behind him. You see like this little outline of Splinter.
Yeah.
And I thought that looked pretty menacing.
Yeah.
And also felt very Rat King, like a regular Rat King. Not Splinter, but in the comics, for those who may not be aware, there is a character called the Rat King. We'll put him up right here.
Yep.
And this character has a relationship with Splinter. Obviously, Rat King's a bad guy, right?
Rat King, yeah.
But he always plays these mind games with Splinter and twisted stuff. And twisted stuff that is actually kind of done here in the show later on. We'll talk about it when we get there. But yeah, that whole scene with Splinter's outline and the red eyes in the background definitely gave me original Rat King vibes. Like they were hinting again at the Rat King.
For sure.
But yeah, now that Splinter's there, he starts fighting with Goldfin again. But it's still not quite enough because he gets knocked down and the mug, the number one dad mug that he's been showing it this whole time in the series, falls to the ground and it breaks. And Splinter's kind of like devastated by this. This is a important piece to him. But April shows up and slaps Goldfin with the skateboard, knocking him back.
She hits Goldfin with this skateboard really hard.
Yeah. And we get another small scuffle between them, but they again get the upper hand on Goldfin. And then he scurries away. And that's pretty much how this episode ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's episode 9. Let's jump into episode 10 now.
The sewers have flooded many times before.
I saw, like, actual rats legit evacuating. Not that you're not an actual rat. You know what I mean.
The sewers are my home. I would never leave them.
All right, so now we're jumping into episode 10, Donnie Goes Deep. And this one, as the title says, revolves around Donatello now.
Yes. This episode starts with Goldfin. This is a flashback. This episode starts with Goldfin, Sally, and Lee surfacing from the river after first being mutated.
Okay.
They start talking about how the fish in their home don't accept them anymore, like you were saying earlier.
Right. This is the actual.
This is the actual where we first see that they got kicked out.
Mm-hmm.
They're okay with it at first. They're like, maybe they accept mutants here.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe it'll be okay. This could be our new home.
Right.
We're mutants now.
And then they talk about, you're right, that their old town will be okay because they'll have the pearl, the thing that they all love.
And then right behind them, Crane goes into the water and they go, check out this big pearl we just got.
Yeah, it's a bunch of humans and they found the pearl and they're going to be rich.
Yeah. So that basically where the flashback ends and this is why they want to make New York, their home, and
Yes.
flood it because they basically took theirs
Right.
and made theirs unsafe.
Is this where you find out that to steal the pearl back will be the only way to get accepted from their peers back at their old home? Or
No,
is that not
that's
till
a little later.
Okay.
After this flashback ends, we cut over to April's battery running out.
Right.
It's like her on her camera, and the battery's low. She talks about how they've been doing this for an hour and 4 minutes.
Like talking to Splinter.
Talking to
hearing the story.
Yeah, hearing the story. And this is funny. I did the math minus the intro, recaps, and the outro, and it comes out to about an hour and 4 minutes.
That's funny. You could tell it was like the editors and writers put that in there.
As a subtle detail, they're like, somebody can do the math out there.
Right.
And it'll be a funny joke.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it comes out to about that.
That's wild. That's wild that they did that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the story finally starts, Donatello's
Yeah.
story. And it's with Wingnut and Donatello going down in the sewers to fix the electricity because of the storm and everything. Everything's gone down. You get to one point where Donatello and Wingnut have to crawl through like this tight, is it like an air vent or a tunnel
Yeah.
or something to get to the backup generator.
Mhm.
There's even a funny line here where Wingnut says, "Did you have to put it behind?" And he says something like, "Well, if you understood some structural something or other, you'd understand why, but it's a big old deal." Donnie's funny.
Donnie's the funniest turtle.
Yeah, like he's a different type of Donatello than any other Donatello we've gotten in the sense of like the way the character is.
Yeah.
But I like the way that he is. He's funny in these versions of the Turtles, and it's not like a Michelangelo type of funny, like how you would think of Michelangelo.
Yeah.
It's it's still a Donatello-esque, but funny.
It's weird. It feels like Michelangelo is a lot more wholesome now.
Yeah,
A lot more like baby brother.
yeah,
Like he's innocent. He doesn't know what's bad.
right. That's why he didn't know the Purple Dragons, what they were doing in the grocery store.
Exactly. He cracks some jokes,
Mm-hmm.
but Donnie's hit.
Yeah,
Like they
do.
make me laugh.
yeah. They're like, yeah, 100%. I agree with that. Anyways, yeah, they have to crawl through that tight space, right? And this starts to freak Wingnut out because something about after she mutated, now she's like all the stuff she was used to as a bat.
Yeah.
Like she has like the opposite reaction. There's even like a gag about her eating bananas or something.
Yeah.
And now she has like a gag reflex to bananas, which apparently affects like 18% of people or something.
Yeah.
It's like a gag that goes on the whole
It is.
the whole episode. And yeah, she's freaked out to go in this tunnel.
Yeah.
But Donnie reassures her, everything's going to be okay, that, just, to trust him and come with him, and everything works out good.
Yeah. All right. And then we cut back over to a flashback again.
Mm-hmm.
Second flashback so far. And it shows the East River 3 watching the news.
Right.
And it shows that their pearl ended up at the museum that they're trying to go to now. Goldfin tells them that they're going to steal it back so that they can finally be welcomed back into their home as heroes.
Okay, so this is where they say that. This is the part,
This is the part you were talking about.
Sorry, not to cut you off, but also when they're watching the TV, I don't know if you noticed, there's like a chicken plucker commercial,
Mm-hmm.
and that has to do with the chicken plucker machines we saw in the Purple Dragons Raphael episode from the first half of the season.
Okay.
So they're hinting at this character that plucks chickens. It's like this whole thing. Yeah, I don't know if anybody caught that, but that was something that I noticed.
I didn't notice that.
But yeah, the flashback is now over,
Mm-hmm.
and we jump back over to Wingnut and Donatello, and Wingnut is telling Donatello about how Leatherhead has been feeling down lately. Wingnut says that Leatherhead has been researching demutation. So pretty much how to become unmutated.
Yeah.
So maybe when she wants to go back to her more natural form.
Yeah, maybe she misses being an alligator.
Mm-hmm. But it's during this when a big creature bursts through a wall right in front of them, and you can see that Wingnut and Donatello are like, "What the heck is that?" And they go see like the tunnel, and you see that it's Lee the Eel. Like you're seeing Lee the Eel continue to make cracks in the city, which we'll find out later. She's trying to make tunnels so that when they break the seawall, it'll be like channels that the water can go in under the city and pretty much like destroy the city and make it an underwater place for them.
That makes sense.
Anyways, the damage, like the structural damage that Lee the Eel caused during this causes like a hole to break under Donatello and Wingnut, and they fall.
Yeah.
Now they're in a lower level of the sewers, and this causes Wingnut to freak out again, just like how we saw earlier in like the little corridor thing she was in.
Yeah.
And Donatello tries to keep her calm.
She seems to be freaking out a lot throughout this episode.
You know what? When we were watching it, you were saying something about how, like, why does she have mechanical arms instead of like regular arms, or like what's going on with her? It does seem like she was experimented on a lot after she was mutated by someone, maybe Baxter or maybe Superfly, one of them. And maybe, yeah, you're right. She seems to have been traumatized in some way.
Yeah.
Before she became herself.
I feel like that's a very reasonable explanation for why she's so anxious.
Because, yeah, she just seems like that in the episodes, and it doesn't seem like there's any other reason except that.
Yeah.
Anyways, down here, while Donatello's trying to keep her calm, I think he says something like, look, everything's fine. We're going to be okay. And then like a giant alligator jumps out of the water and tries to grab Donatello.
Yeah. Now I'm going to jump back in here and talk about a third flashback.
Right.
It's about the East River 3, once again.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to find a criminal to help them steal the pearl, because they don't know how to do this. They were just fish.
Mm-hmm.
And they see the news, and it shows Bad Bernie, who we saw in Mutant Mayhem.
Which, if you remember from the concept art, I don't know if it was you and I that talked about it, or if I talked about it in a video. That was the original character that was going to be the Rat King.
Yes.
This concept art of Bad Bernie, this exact character, and you can see right under the concept art, it says the Rat King.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it, the features on his face, he kind of looks like a rat.
He kind of does look like a rat.
He has the teeth and, yeah, like the snout, I think. I don't know. Something like that.
But they watch him, Bad Bernie, and he's getting out of court.
Mm-hmm. They're watching him on TV.
Yes, they're watching him on the news, and he's getting out of court. And he says that he's running a criminal organization. And they realize this is the guy they want help from, because he has a lot of experience dealing with this.
Exactly. They were looking for somebody.
Yes.
They just found their guy. We jump back over to the present after that flashback. So we're constantly jumping back and forth.
Yeah.
From flashback to Donnie. And back with the alligator and everything that's going on. Wingnut thinks that this alligator, which is a regular big alligator,
just randomly in the sewers.
Yeah. She thinks that is Leatherhead, who has demutated herself. She's like, oh no, she finally did it.
Yeah.
Leatherhead, our friend, is gone. That's what she thinks.
Yes.
And then something happens throughout all this commotion that causes Wingnut to hit one of the water pipes there. Like she like grabs onto it or something. And even more water starts pouring into like the pit that they're in. And so now they're in this like pit thing, but now it's flooding with water, like fast.
And with an alligator, that's something you don't want.
No. Donnie again tries to calm her down, but this is when the alligator jumps out of the water and grabs Wingnut and takes her down underwater. Wingnut manages to escape, but then the alligator starts going after Donnie, I think. But Donnie tricks the alligator into running into like some pillars that are under the water, which fall, I believe, on the alligator. And that's kind of how they're able to escape it, at least for now. So Wingnut and Donatello are able to avoid the alligator, at least for now. And they end up finding an exit to like a different corridor of like these lower levels of the sewer.
Yeah.
And as soon as they get there, they see like the alligator finds them again. And they're like, ah, crap. Like, we can't get to the exit because like stairs far away. And those are the stairs to get out. But they have to go through like this water where the alligator is, which he's like, what are the odds of it, happening, finding us?
Yeah.
And at one point, he tries to reason with the alligator because he thinks it's Leatherhead. He's like trying to like break through to the alligator. Like, I know you're in there, Leatherhead. And you hear actual Leatherhead go, "In where?" or something like that.
Yeah.
And Donatello looks over, and Leatherhead's not demutated.
No.
She's right there. And so this alligator that Donatello's face to face with, I think grabs him and pulls him underwater, right?
Yeah, it does. And after Donnie gets pulled underwater, we cut to another flashback.
Yes.
But this isn't of the East River 3.
No.
This time, it shows us the origins of these alligators.
Yes.
And what they're doing in the sewers. And it shows this father and son
Yeah.
talking about how the alligators, 3 was too many.
Mm-hmm.
And also that they ate the neighbor's dog.
Right.
So they end up throwing them down into the sewer, and the alligators look mad.
Mm-hmm. One of them like looks up sad at first and then
Yeah.
gets angry.
So we
talked about this before the podcast. You thought that there was 3 wild alligators down in the sewers with
I
Donatello.
thought one got crushed by the cement pillar.
Okay.
Died.
Okay.
The new one followed them, and then later on a second one appears.
Okay, third one.
A third one appears.
And you thought those were the 3 babies?
I think those are the 3 babies.
Okay. See, I thought that the one that got crushed by the pillars is the same one that finds them later.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 1. Still the same one.
Yes.
The second one that shows up is 2, and I thought Leatherhead was the third one. But so it's almost like Leatherhead's old siblings
Yes.
trying to like tempt Leatherhead to demutate, because I believe she says that it was something she was interested in, but she ended up liking being a mutant. She's accepted it or something.
Well, she talks about how she wanted to get to know the alligators and see what it was like to be an alligator.
Right.
But it ended up biting her. And so
Yes.
she was like,
Yeah.
maybe it's good I'm a mutant.
And you can see her leg, and she has a big old chunk of her pant like ripped off.
And so I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys think the 3 alligators, 1 died and it's 2 random ones, and these alligators are just random?
Yep.
Or one of them might be Leatherhead?
Yeah, are these Leatherhead siblings? How did you guys see it? Yeah, I'm curious too, because we saw it 2 different ways.
Yeah.
Which is, pretty wild. So yeah, let us know. But yeah, back in the present, Donatello and Wingnut, they all come up with like a device, I think using some parts off of Wingnut.
Yes.
To like lock open the alligator's mouth.
Yeah.
That way it can't bite them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That way they can swim across the water and escape. And eventually Donatello does it, and they're able to get out, and they leave. And as they're leaving, you see Leatherhead talking to Donatello and Wingnut about having seen Lee the eel.
Yeah.
She says that there's a monster making tunnels. And yeah, as they walk away, she continues to tell them about this, but they eventually hear some voices. They hear some voices on the other side of some of the rubble that Lee the eel has left behind. And at first they think it's going to be people or the bad guys. I forgot who they think it's going to be, but it ends up being Raphael and Scumbug and Ray Fillet. Now you can see that the team is coming back together.
Yes.
Now you have Donatello and Raphael with their team. They've kind of linked up now.
This is the only crucial part of this whole episode, is that they meet up at the end.
This and like the flashbacks.
This and the flashbacks.
Kind of setting up the East River 3. But yeah, you're right. I didn't think about it at the beginning that this was such a weak episode, but now that we've kind of gone through it, this one is. And the Raphael one, you were spot on about those 2. Those 2 are the weakest, I feel like, of the second half.
But this episode just disappointed me so much compared to the first Donatello episode.
Yeah, what a difference.
What a difference.
Yeah.
To go from, honestly,
a high speed chase in a subway with fast action and crazy like fight scenes to this one, which is kind of slow and flashback. Yeah.
I will admit they made a lot of references, which I enjoyed. Mm-hmm. Like they make a Star Wars reference.
Right.
And a lot of other ones.
Yep.
But nothing was of sustenance in this episode.
Yeah.
And that just kind of disappointed me.
Yeah, now looking back at it, I feel the same way. At first I didn't really think much of it, but now that we've broken it down, this one is not as good as the others. But before we move on to the others, which the last 2 are good.
Yes.
These
next 2 are really, really good.
Yeah, they definitely make up for it here. But there's one more scene, right, on this episode?
A final flashback for the flashback galore of this episode.
Yeah, this is another Goldfin flashback.
And Goldfin ends up meeting with Bad Bernie.
Yeah, so now they've met in person.
Yeah. We'll see what happens later.
Yeah, let's jump over to episode 11.
Donatello? What are you doing, mate?
Leatherhead?
Wait, but if you're there, then...
All right, so episode 11 is called Leonardo Saddles Up. And yeah, we're getting close to the end now.
Yes.
Right? And this episode starts off with Leonardo and Pigeon Pete teamed up, which, if you remember, Pigeon Pete in this version was created by Michelangelo, and that was in the first half, which did or did not happen, but Pigeon Pete existing kind of confirms that it happened.
Confirms that it happened because obviously they have a Pigeon Pete.
Yeah, another one of those things, right? Anyways, as they hit the surface, it seems like it's just gonna be a normal, like them getting air and stuff.
Yeah.
But Pigeon Pete notices something. He has like a certain way he can see, like infrared, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like the Predator. And he sees Lee the eel under the ground creating the cracks.
Yeah.
And this starts freaking out Pigeon Pete.
Yeah.
Where he starts acting irrational. He starts flying all over. Leo's trying to catch him, and he's like holding on to him, and like he eventually gets dropped, right? Leonardo gets dropped, and he loses Pigeon Pete.
We cut over to a detective, a brand new character, I think. I don't believe we've ever seen this character.
Right.
Who gets pooped on by a pigeon.
Right. It's
a normal pigeon, not our Pete.
No.
And we find out he hates birds, like a lot.
Right.
Like he despises birds.
And I know it's explained later, but there's a flashback, right? When he was a child.
Yeah.
He was eating an ice cream, and a bunch of pigeons surrounded him and attacked him for the ice cream, and he's been traumatized ever since. That's kind of his thing, right?
Yes. But then we cut back over to Pigeon Pete trying to chase Lee the eel. You see that he's looking at her through the ground while she's moving, but he's getting further away from Leo because Leo got left behind. And the ground starts rumbling and getting very large cracks caused by her. Like it's happening everywhere.
We cut back, to here to an interesting part too, with Splinter telling the story. And you kind of get, I don't know if it's like the writers poking fun at themselves, but it sort of seems like it is. Like they say like how complicated this is, and how hard this is to follow, but let's just kind of go through it, right?
Yeah.
And I felt like it was the writers kind of poking fun at themselves of like how they had to write the story in such a way to where it doesn't affect the movies. So it's almost like them making fun of the predicament that they're in, but through the characters. That's what I felt like it was.
It's because,
but I'm not sure,
how Splinter says the cracks are caused by Lee the eel. And then they go, we already know that. The turtles go, we already know that.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, but this happened before we knew it was Lee the eel.
Right.
But they're telling us this way after we already know it's Lee the eel, because he tells us this takes place before Mikey, but after Raph, and he starts getting very confused.
Yeah, he's pretty much making fun of how confusing. So they know. They must know. It must just be there must be some reason behind it.
Yes.
Anyways, back with Leonardo and Pigeon Pete. You see that Pigeon Pete still like going crazy because of what he's seen under the ground happening. Like I think he accidentally runs into like a cop car and he gets stuck in it for a minute. And like the cops are like yelling at him to get out or whatever, and he gets out, and Leonardo sees what's happening. He's like, oh, there's Pete.
Yeah.
And he tries to tell the cops like he's not trying to hurt anybody, he's just like this.
Yeah.
And Leo is able to help him out of the cop car. So now Pigeon Pete's now trying to go see again what's happening with this eel under the ground. And right as he's like about to leave, I think this is how it goes down. The detective earlier that's really traumatized by pigeons walks up to see what's going on with his deputies. I think this is how it goes down. I think Pigeon Pete grabs Leonardo to like go off and like chase the eel under the ground, which Leo doesn't know about yet.
No.
Just Pigeon Pete, because he can see it under the ground. Just as they take off, Pigeon Pete like poops because he's a pigeon, he can't control it, and he's a big pigeon.
Yeah.
He poops a lot all over the detective character that's been traumatized.
You could see the detective's face when he notices Pete.
Yeah,
he looks up like he's terrified.
Yeah,
because it's a giant pigeon.
Yeah, his worst
fare. But him getting pooped on by Pete is super important to this episode.
Like, yeah, because this is pretty much the catalyst that starts everything.
It changes everything about Pigeon Pete. This right here. Who would know pigeon poop would be so important to this story?
But yeah, the detective guy, he snaps. Like, this is it.
Yeah, he gets so upset to the point where he gets into his cop car, still with all the bird poop on him, and starts calling for everything. He asks, I want everybody, helicopters, SWAT team on this bird.
And I think later on when they do show up, it's the EPF.
Yes.
I saw like the little briefcase.
Yes, because he tells them it's a mutant. So they already know. So after Pete takes off with Leo, he ends up letting go.
Yeah.
And Leo falls and crashes into this facility kind of looking building. Inside this facility, we see that Mustang Sally is also in here by coincidence. And Pigeon Pete just sits on some beams up high watching Leo fight Mustang Sally because Mustang Sally knows about the turtles.
Right.
So he must think Leo's here to stop.
Yeah, I think he even says that. He's like, you're here to stop me or something. And Leo's like, I don't even know who you are. I just want to go home.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But a fight does break out.
Yeah.
So yeah, during their fight or around the time that they're fighting or talking, this is when the cops show up.
Yes.
So the ones that the detective called in, the EPF, the helicopters, everything. Now they've all kind of tracked Pigeon Pete and Leonardo here to this. I don't know if they've explained it yet within the story, but we can explain it. It's a water pump facility for the city.
Yes.
Right? This is like where all the water is like processed. And what you see is that Mustang Sally is there, like closing off all the valves on purpose so that pressure will build up and cause a big explosion of water, a bigger explosion of water than the water they've already released.
To help flood the city more.
Because they've already broken the wall, right?
Yeah.
Out there with the drill earlier, that guy with the drill. So this is like even more, right?
Yeah.
That was just like wave 1. This is wave 2 of flooding the city. It seems like, at least, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. And yeah, the cops show up to the facility. They surround it. You see the detective guy get on like his megaphone, and he tells them they have 5 minutes to get out. Mustang Sally tells Leo though here that 5 minutes is plenty of time to blow this place up.
Yeah.
So like the water pumps.
Yes. Leo questions why, and Sally tells him how this will all help the East River Three's plan to flood the museum and Midtown.
Right.
So Leo lets him know that he can't let that happen. He's finally realizing that Sally's up to no good. And they begin fighting.
That's right. Because the true plan is now revealed, and Leo's like, wait, I didn't know you're doing all that.
Yeah, that's a lot of evil going on, and I can't let that happen.
And that's pretty much going to it is going to destroy their home.
Yeah. The police then start shooting at the building with darts, like...
Were those retro mutagen darts, or are they just tranquilizers?
I don't know. I feel like
they kind of glowed
They're
blue.
just
tranquilizers.
I'm pretty sure.
Because
I think somebody gets hit by it.
And they just fall asleep.
Yes. So Leo and Sally run because all these darts are getting shot at them. Pigeon Pete flies towards Leo in all of this chaos. And Leo realizes that Pete took him to this facility on purpose. So Pete knew what he was doing. It wasn't a coincidence that...
He wasn't just going crazy. He just couldn't vocalize to Leonardo what was happening.
Exactly. And then Leo and Sally start fighting again after Sally starts turning more valves.
By the way, this is one of the better fight scenes of the whole series. Yeah, this fight scene between Mustang Sally and Leonardo is actually... I just want to slow down and just admire it a little bit.
Yeah.
It was a good fight. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the fights in like the Batman versus Ninja Turtles movies.
I'm going to be honest, these next few fights in this episode and the next episode, all of them were visually pleasing to me. Like
they were the way I would hope to see fight scenes in all of the episodes. You know what I mean? Even if it's against like minor criminals, but at least cool fight scenes like this. You know what I mean?
Last episode was an awful showcase.
Yeah, what a contrast.
Yeah.
With this one. Yeah. So the police at this point enter the building, and I think Sally starts wiping them all out, right?
Yeah.
Played by Danny Trejo, by the way. Mustang Sally. So, just for those who didn't know. And, while we're on this, Goldfin was played by Timothy Oliphant. So like the cowboy character from The Mandalorian. Yeah. And Lee the Eel is played by Jillian Bell. She was from the Workaholic show. You remember that show?
Yeah.
On Comedy Central. So yeah, anyways, Mustang takes the officers out one by one, the EPF officers.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we jump back over to the detective guy who's like trying to scope out where Pigeon Pete is.
Yeah.
So all this chaos is happening, but he doesn't care.
No.
He's focused on Pigeon Pete.
He wants Pete.
And he tries to shoot Pete with like this net gun.
Yeah. The detective ends up hitting his shot.
Right.
He catches Pete in the net and...
Doesn't it like electrocute him or something?
It electrocutes him and he falls to the floor.
Right.
Because he was hanging up on the beams. Leo tries helping him, but Pete looks gone. I hope you show a picture of how Pete looks.
I'll put it up right here.
He looks dead. Sally keeps turning valves and is about to cause the place to blow up like it's right there. Leo tells Sally to stop and that they'll blame every mutant for this.
Which seems like the way they're taking the franchise.
Yeah.
Right? Because when they first started, it was almost like, why are they being exposed to the public so soon? They're not going to be able to hide and stuff, which is kind of like a big element of the Turtles.
They can't be Ninja Turtles without hiding.
Yeah. And so it seems like, to me, it seems like their strategy, what it looks like is they're going to be exposed to the public. They're going to be framed as all mutants are doing something, and have to go into the hiding. It seems like they're doing that type of thing, if I had to guess.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
So Leo and Pigeon Pete are in smoke that the officers previously threw smoke grenades in, and so they can't see them.
Right.
But Pigeon Pete wakes up and starts coughing and says, "Thank you." Just like that.
Yeah.
Like really funny out of nowhere. Pigeon Pete can talk.
Yeah.
He can talk now.
And his voice is, I think he's done by the actor that does McLovin in Super Rad. Yeah. Which the way he does the voice is hilarious.
Perfect.
Yeah. That was one of the highlights of the second half of the season. It might be one of the best.
I can't lie. Pigeon Pete might have moved to the top of my favorite characters in this whole show.
It's funny, like I always see a lot of comments about Pigeon Pete, like in stuff that we post, and I've always been like, cool, it's a cool like side character, but here he shines. He shined to me. I was like, okay, this is funny.
He's up there, and I loved Metalhead in the first half.
Yeah,
two of my favorite characters, which still disappointed he couldn't be in this.
Yeah, they didn't use Metalhead very much.
No,
I feel like they could have used them more.
Yeah, he could have been in this part.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
He could have helped with somebody. Maybe Donnie. He could have been a big part of Donnie's quest.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Yeah, that was interesting not to include him.
So the detective starts going on about how he wants the police to go after Pigeon Pete, that he caught him.
Yes.
And Leo says, they'll give him a pigeon. And they end up replacing Pete.
Yeah, where he fell
and in that net with a normal pigeon. Just one that was up there.
Yeah. And all like the other cops are like, this is your like the thing you've been worried about, and they all start laughing.
Yeah, it's just a normal pigeon.
Yeah. And so they're kind of like, they don't take him seriously anymore because they think he's been scared about this regular, which honestly, the way he's been acting, they're kind of justified in thinking this.
I want to see if he might come back.
The detective guy.
He seemed like he could have a vendetta.
Yeah. Against Pigeon Pete specifically. Yeah.
I can only see him appearing in the show though.
Yeah, me too. Definitely one of those show characters.
He's not going to be in any movies, I don't think. And if he does, it'll surprise me.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking out for all of these characters.
Yes.
When the sequel to Mutant Mayhem comes out,
because if one of these characters show up,
some of this is real.
Or if Pete talks, this has to have happened.
At least to some degree. Yeah. Now that's all I'm going to be looking for. Well, not all, but it's going to be a big thing that I'm looking for.
Like in this game. This game takes place after.
Or in the game, which we still haven't played, by the way. We need to do a playthrough on
when we play, that's something we're going to be looking for while we're playing.
Yeah.
Is if anything from the show that we think didn't happen happens in the game, it confirms it. And we'll tell you.
No. The movie will confirm it. I think the game is going to be like,
I mean,
pushing it closer, but it's the movie I think that's the decider, bro.
That makes sense.
Yeah. All right, so Leo and Pigeon Pete get to the roof of the pump station, and this is when Leo's kind of like, why didn't you tell me you could talk? You've been able to talk this whole time to Pete. And Pete tells him that being electrocuted and falling, kind of like when the detective was trying to capture him, that's what kind of like unlocked his ability to speak. That he's always wanted to tell him these things, but that he just couldn't. But now that event has kind of unlocked all this, right?
Yeah, I told you that pigeon poop, his poop made him be able to talk.
Yeah, because if he wouldn't have pooped on the detective would have never gone after him, and he would have never felt like that and got electrocuted.
The domino effect, baby.
Yeah.
Or the butterfly effect.
Yeah, the butterfly effect. And and it's during this where it gets even funnier because he pulls out like these glasses, these magical glasses out of nowhere. Pigeon Pete does.
Yeah.
He puts them on and he starts talking like very intellectually. Like, well, you see, like the main issue is that the East River 3 actually planned to destroy the whole city.
And he was like, I led you there on purpose, actually. I saw Lee and I saw Sally through the walls.
Yeah. He's like this mastermind that has like this whole plan of his is now like come to fruition.
And I'm digging it.
Yeah, me too. I like Pigeon Pete, the way they did him here. And as he's explaining this to Leonardo, this is when the pump station underneath them starts to explode. Do they show that the museum is across the street from the pump yet in this episode? Or is that next episode?
That's next episode.
So yeah,
because Splinter makes fun of him for it.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump over to
the
final episode of season 1.
I should have tried harder. A good leader doesn't just give orders. They listen.
Boy, you really love your speeches, don't you?
So I'm pretty sure this episode starts off with Splinter making fun of Leo.
Yeah.
About how the whole time while Leo was fighting Sally, the museum was literally right across.
Yeah, he could have prevented all of this, is what Raphael is saying, but it's Splinter saying.
It's Splinter saying it.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's just Raph trying to make Leo look bad in the
story. Yeah.
So anyways, now we cut over to a flashback of Bad Bernie telling Goldfin that instead of bringing the pearl back to his home, that they should just steal it, and that he can give Goldfin everything he wants because that pearl's a lot of money.
Yep.
But only if he eats a piece of sushi.
Yeah, like Bad Bernie will only help him if Goldfin, a fish, will eat some sushi, which is something that the Rat King would do because in the original comics, he made Splinter when Splinter was injured and starving to death. He appeared to Splinter and made him eat a rat so that Splinter would have the strength to live. It's something twisted that the Rat King has done in the past versions of the Turtles. And
subtle foreshadowing. I just think so.
Bad Bernie, is he gonna be the Rat King? Like, is that because in the original concept art, that's what they had planned for him? Is that gonna end up playing out that way? I think
there's too many coincidences.
Yeah, they're hinting at it.
There's so many coincidences.
The Turtles keep bullying him, like not bullying him, but like, you know what I mean? He's a criminal.
He looks like a rat.
Yeah, like he's gonna get upset at the Turtles one time, and so he's gonna get some powers, and that's when he's gonna become the Rat King. Yeah, they're definitely,
and I'm excited for it. I think seeing the Rat King in this universe will be great.
I wonder if because he has the Rat King colors too, like it's like a green and an orange, but he obviously it looks more like a mobster, like I wonder if he's gonna have like the wraps on him, like the Rat King, like how right?
Yeah.
We cut back over to the present, right? And we see everything that's happening in the museum, which was across the street from the water pump station. So now it's been flooded.
Yeah.
And we see that the East River 3 are now showing up there. It's time to steal the pearl back.
Yeah.
We see that the pearl is surrounded by lasers, and they do some type of like Mission Impossible thing where they drop into it and they get the pearl, right?
We cut over to Raph and Donnie talking at the drill site.
Yes.
And there's a bomb.
Right.
And Donnie knows how to defuse it.
Right.
But they need to be at the museum. That's what they realized.
Right, because they're at that drill site from like the very first. Yeah. The one where the guy was being forced to drill against that wall against his will. Yeah, they're back there barely because they just met up down in the sewers, and Raph's kind of showing them what he experienced, but now, there's a bomb there.
So Donnie is the only one who knows how to defuse a bomb, but he needs to be at the museum with
the rest of the turtles.
He doesn't know they're there, but
him and Raph want to go there. Yeah.
So the Mutanimals decide, we can defuse the bomb. Just show us how real quick.
Doesn't he like draw them up like a diagram or something?
He draws them like a little manual.
We cut back over next to the museum, and we see outside of the museum that Leonardo is showing up with Pigeon Pete. And coincidentally, at the same time, it seems like Michelangelo and Genghis Frog are also showing up.
Yeah.
You hear Mikey call out Leo's name. And Mikey kind of debriefs Leo about what Lee the Eel has been doing across town, like what all the cracks are about, like what he knows about that. And it's around this time we hear Donatello call out, and now Donatello and Raphael are there as well.
Yeah.
And so now all the turtles are back together. They all hug. And I like each one of the turtles, but when they're together, it's so much better.
It's so much better.
I don't know what it is. Like, it's fine when they're separate, but when they're together, it's just, that's the way I like.
I want to see it more.
Yeah, me too. I know it's Tales of the TMNT and they want to split them up per episode and then bring them together. They could
do it in the first half.
Yeah, or do solo episodes here and there, but there should be more group episodes in between. It's such a pleasure to hear them banter with each other.
Yeah.
And to not have that, I feel like takes away a little bit of what Mutant Mayhem had.
You get these teenage actors to voice, and you're so excited for it.
Yep.
To hear how they work together.
Mm-hmm.
But we never get to hear them work together.
Except for a couple of episodes. That does. It's funny, when we did our first half, I think by the end of it, we were like, I think we like it more. I was saying, I think I like it more than the movie.
Yeah.
I think it was more like I was basing that off of like the designs. I like their designs in the show. I don't know why. They just seem like a little bit more like classic Ninja Turtles to me.
That makes sense.
Where they look classic also in the 3D, but they're just a little more like oblong or something. Like
it's more artistic-y.
Yeah, these are more like, that's a classic Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
Just like, but for today, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of clouding my judgment, because now when I'm like, or maybe it's just the second half of the series that I don't like as much, because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I think I like the movie.
I like the movie a
little more, because when they're all together, it's very, very cool hearing them bounce off of each other. That's the magic.
They were funny, like when they were all scared that they were going to get milk from their blood.
Yeah.
And they were all screaming together because they were told about it.
And then hearing all the pop culture references, but them reacting to each other talking about pop culture references is funny.
Like, it'd be funny to hear Raphael call Donnie like a nerd for liking some of the stuff he likes.
Yeah, and like hearing about those things, like little details, but to each other, not just alone.
Yeah.
Because when they're just alone, it's kind of like it loses that magic. That is the magic they have.
Yes, it is.
If they have one thing, it's that dynamic between all the actors together, those four.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, I don't know how we got. I think it's because they're all together now, right? Yeah, they're all together now in front of the museum, and Pigeon Pete, who can now talk, which surprises Michelangelo, by the way.
Yeah.
Interrupts them and tells them, the East River 3 are leaving with the Pearl.
Yeah. So then we finally hear Goldfin finally name the sea enemies. Like, I know we've been saying it throughout this whole episode, but in the actual show, they don't say it until right now.
They actually say they're the sea enemies?
Yeah, I think they say sea anemones, like what they actually are.
Okay, I've probably been pronouncing it wrong this whole entire time. Because the way I saw it spelled, I think it was, yeah. Anyways.
Okay. But I think they're supposed to be sea anemones, and they named them sea enemies. That would make sense.
Yes.
And that they left a little surprise for the turtles, which we saw was the bomb.
Right.
So, the turtles stop them there, and Raph really wants to fight them. And Leo tells him, no, we can talk it out, which you get to see the more of that dynamic.
Yeah, building.
Yep.
I like that.
Me too. But Goldfin doesn't agree and tells Lee and Sally to fight them. So Raph's getting what he wants. Which, maybe because he's telling the story.
Yeah, and we get a cool fight scene here.
Yes, we do.
This is, again, another one of the cool fight scenes. This is one in the last episode. Or pretty cool. I want more of this.
Yes.
More of this.
Way more of this.
Or at least one of these type of fights in every episode.
Yeah.
Something like this.
Because you see people lifting up tiles, hitting each other with them, and just crazy stuff. But Lee electrifies the floor, hitting all the turtles, and they all get wiped out.
Right, I remember that.
But Pete stops her from killing them by pooping on her face, just like, his specialty.
Right. It's during like that moment too where you start seeing that Goldfin will even turn on his friends.
Yeah.
Not only on the plan, because now obviously the plan is to get rich off the pearl, which that wasn't the original plan. But now he'll also turn on his friends because I think something happens during that part where the turtles are knocked out and Lee the eel has poop on her face.
Yeah.
That Goldfin purposely starts like throwing his, I think it's like his scales or something.
Yeah.
But they're like super strong. His scales are at the museum columns to start breaking it down to crush the turtles. But this would also crush his friends.
Yeah.
And I think at one point
it does.
Yeah, but at one point somebody tells Lee the eel and Mustang Sally that he's doing that, and they say like, oh, he would never do that to us, or something like that. And he like, right, and they look and like, he's gone.
Yeah,
he's not there anymore. Like he abandoned them.
He left. He's gone.
And the building does come down on top of all of them. They all get stuck and they all get crushed by the rubble. At least like, partially crushed. They're still, everyone's still alive, but everyone's like kind of trapped.
Yeah.
By the way, during all this, we cut back over to Wingnut, who's down at the drill site with the manual that Donatello gave her, but she accidentally, like, because she's panicking, drops it into the water nearby, and it like it's illegible. You can't read it at all. All the ink kind of like fades from it.
Yeah, it's just messed up. All right, but now we're back with the turtles, and Pete tells them to go get the pearl. So the turtles never got caught in the rubble.
Right. They kind of were able to avoid it. But his own friends, Goldfin's old friends, got trapped in it.
And so they Pigeon Pete tells the turtles to go get Goldfin and the pearl. He was like, me and Genghis will stay back and help Sally and Lee. So then it shows us Goldfin meeting with Bad Bernie and getting his new name, Badfin.
Right. This is like at the docks, right?
Yeah.
He shows up to the docks with the pearl. He's but Bad Bernie's like on a yacht parked at the docks, and they're like, do you think he's ever going to show up? And then there he is. Goldfin has betrayed all his friends for some money. And
while Bad Bernie's talking to Goldfin on the boat, Goldfin hops on the boat, and a huge wave of rats go over the boat.
I remember that, yeah.
And knocks everybody off of the boat except Bernie and Goldfin.
And you find out that it's Splinter.
So
he is in his, I guess calling him the Rat King feels kind of weird.
Wrong.
But I guess he's in like his Rat King like vibe, if you want to call it that or whatever. But I don't think it's a mistake that this is happening to Bad Bernie, who resembles a Rat King character.
They even say it here.
They do.
Goldfin looks over at the docks, looking at Splinter with all the rats.
Yeah.
And says, that's the Rat King.
He does say it. They say it, yeah. Which is weird because Bad Bernie seems like will become the Rat King.
So I think it's subtle hinting because he's with Bad Bernie. And I think it's just coincidence that it's not a coincidence.
Something's going to happen there.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen there where maybe he wants to know this skill that Splinter has, and since he's such a like rat type person, he'll learn how to speak to vermin or whatever and take control of the rats. That I could see something like that happening.
Yeah.
With Bad Bernie.
But Goldfin tells Bernie to start the boat and get them out of here.
Right.
Get them away from the rats.
It's around this time that the turtles show up to the boat as well, by the way.
Yeah.
And Raphael is able to punch Bernie as he's trying to start the boat.
Yeah.
And again, while this is all happening back at, again, the drill site,
Yeah.
Wingnut is not able to disarm the bomb. They just can't figure it out. As they debate what to do with it, you can see that the time's ticking. This thing's going to go.
Yeah.
But Ray Fillet, hearing everybody talk and try to figure out, just grabs the bomb, and you just see him start swimming away.
Yeah. And now we get to the final fight scene that I think is the best fight scene throughout this whole show.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it here. This whole show, which weird because I didn't like the second half as much as the first half, but this fight scene,
it might be the best fight scene in this whole version of the
Turtles.
Which is crazy. Yeah, you're right, because it's in like the weakest story arc.
Yeah. But this fight scene right here of Goldfin versus the Ninja Turtles is just fantastic.
It's like one of those old like kung fu movies like Ip Man and stuff like that.
If you could watch one episode of the show, it's this episode right here for this fight scene.
Yeah, if you're only gonna watch one episode, just watch this one.
Yeah.
Just to kind of see like what it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you know, because I think this is where when they're doing these martial arts things, like even in the first episode where he's fighting the robot Leonardo, you get a little bit of this martial arts thing. This is what we want to see.
It shows their potential, but
and I don't want to see it one every 6 episodes. Nope. I want to see them do that with the main villain 1 out of 6 episodes. But I want to see this every episode, at least a little bit. They're Ninja Turtles. They're ninja. Yeah. We want to see them do martial arts. And when they're doing these cool fights like this, this is where I think the fan base gets really excited. I get really excited. When they're fighting like this. Yeah, and I think it's a little bit, you know what it reminds me of? Like when they make a comic book show about like a main superhero, but the superhero is never there until like the season finale.
Yeah.
And it just feels like you're wasting your time until you get to the season finale. That's what it feels like with turtle martial arts fight scenes. It feels like they're doing that same strategy, and it's very tiring.
Yeah.
They need to be doing more of this, even if it's just sprinkled a little bit, little skirmishes with thugs and ninjas, like foot soldiers and stuff throughout multiple episodes, and then a big one when they're fighting the Shredder, or a big one when they're fighting Bishop in her mech suit or whatever eventually.
Yeah, I can't deal with these solo episodes almost the whole show.
Yeah, or if they are going to do them, have some more
martial arts in them.
Yeah, more fights.
Because I can't get over Donnie fighting an alligator as a whole episode.
Yeah, that one really got to you.
That one really boiled my blood, some would say.
Yeah.
But
he's your favorite turtle, isn't he?
In this version, yes.
Yeah.
In this version, Donnie's my favorite turtle.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. This is a great fight scene.
Well,
sorry for the rant. I just thought
no problem.
That's a dude.
It's a solid rant.
It's sorely needed.
Yeah.
They need. I don't know what they need to do. They need to request more budget if it costs too much to animate.
Yeah.
Something. They need more martial arts in these things.
Yeah. Well, this fight scene is between Goldfin and the Ninja Turtles. Turtles trying to talk him out of it, like they always try.
Yeah.
But
they even at one point, is it during this where your Goldfin says, "I just want to be like Bad Bernie because he lives like a king," or something, and then like Raph laughs at him.
Yeah.
Like, you think Bad Bernie lives like a king or something?
Yeah, and he's like making fun of him.
Yeah.
But this makes Goldfin throw the pearl at them.
Yeah.
Or throws the pearl in the air.
Right.
And then he runs at them because he wants to keep them away from the pearl.
Yeah, so they're playing keep away.
Yeah. And he does a damn good job at it.
Yeah, he
does
whoops
not
them.
Dude. 1 versus 4, he destroys them.
Yeah, like they're like slipping, hitting their heads on the tables, like cracking their face on the floor.
He's like sliding tablecloths to make them slip, throwing plates at them.
Yep.
He's just that guy. And that's what I'm saying. Using environmental stuff in fights and like showing a fight.
Like a martial arts movie.
Yeah.
But animated.
It's how it needs to be done. And so Goldfin grabs a hook and he tries swinging it around.
Yeah.
And launching it at, like, trying to kill the turtles.
Yeah.
All of them at once with one hit.
When they're tied up or something, right? Or they're like all
back to back.
Yeah.
Like on the ground, hurt.
Yep.
And Splinter comes in with the coldest block ever.
Right, saving his sons.
Saving his sons. From what we saw in that last episode of him failing. He got
when he was fighting
discouraged.
Yeah.
But this redeemed him because he wanted to save his sons. He from those flashbacks we saw,
it gave him some strength, but actually seeing his sons gave him more strength.
Okay.
Which pushed it over the edge and helped him win the fight.
100%. Which I like that kind of storytelling.
Yeah, it's a good storytelling, yeah. Anyways, during this, there's this big, like, speech that Goldfin gives here.
Yeah.
Right? As Splinter is now, like, kind of has Goldfin's back against the wall now.
Yeah.
Like, he's kind of bested him. And so Goldfin starts venting here, and he has this big old speech, and I forget exactly what he says, but he's, like, starts talking bad about his friends. Right? Mustang Sally and Lee the Eel, because he doesn't think, they're back at the water pump or the museum or whatever.
It's like, surely they're not here.
Yeah, but they did. Like, someone brought them. I think it was one of the Mutanimals, right?
Yes. It was Genghis.
Yeah, they were trying to catch up to the turtles and everything, and they're showing up just as he's having this speech, talking bad. Part of the speech was talking bad about them.
Yeah.
And this obviously hurts their feelings. Like, they were supposed to be friends, trying to get back to their home and bringing back the pearl, and Goldfin's got corrupted.
Yeah.
In the process. And being corrupted like this, he just kind of, he doesn't care anymore.
No.
He just gets so pissed off that he wraps everybody up with, like, I think it's like a chain or a cable attached to the anchor of the boat. And he just drops everybody into the ocean.
Like everybody. It's every character.
The Mutanimals, the rest of the East River 3, the Turtle, Splinter.
Yep.
Everybody gets wrapped up in the chain or the rope or whatever, the cable, and they get pulled into the ocean with the anchor, and he cuts it. He cuts the chain or whatever.
Yep.
And so they're just sinking to the bottom of the ocean. And you get a funny little thing here with Pigeon Pete, because he's also down there tied with them falling. And he, like, picks a lock like a secret agent. Like,
my goat.
And he starts freeing everybody. And everybody gets back up to the surface, but they see that the boat's leaving, right?
Yeah. So the boat's really far away.
Yeah.
And we see Ray Fillet with the bomb swimming as fast as because he's a fast swimmer.
Right.
He's going towards everybody with the bomb.
Because he wasn't one of them that got tied up. He's now just showing up with the bomb.
Yeah, he's now just showing up.
Did someone tell him?
Nobody told him. He was just trying to run off.
No. Someone tells him, actually. Someone tells him, use the bomb to go blow up the boat.
Yes, but at first, he was just going with it.
Okay.
He didn't know that they were out there, I don't think.
He was just going to go into the ocean?
He was just going to go into the ocean with it. Probably drop it in the water.
Maybe like Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but when he starts going towards them, like you said, they tell him, they say, "Hey, throw it here." If so, they
stop Bad Bernie or Goldfin or something,
because they start throwing it, playing like hot potato with it.
Yep.
It finally gets to Leo, and he chucks it as far as he can at the boat. Boom! It explodes. Ship cracks into two and ends up sinking.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the pearl flies and shoots its way back onto the shore.
Yes.
And that's where that story ends. And you can tell them about the montage of what happened. Yeah,
there's a montage at the end of the episode, pretty much wrapping everything up. We get a voiceover of Splinter, but it's Raph's voice actor, saying that Sally and Lee left to find a new home, and you see them like on a boat or a raft or something.
Yeah, so I could see them possibly not returning, and that's the story, is that they left on
that's the end of them.
And they don't exist. They could not exist.
Yeah.
So this could just be all a story.
Unless they come back in another fake story, I guess.
Story.
So they're all, they go on a boat. We don't know where they're going to. We also see that the pearl was returned to its rightful place. So the original, like, undersea community where it came from. And now that, like, community's vibrant again. All the fishes are back and everything's good there.
Yes.
Oh, and also we see in this montage the final scene here at the end, with Goldfin saving Bad Bernie. I think they get, like, washed up to sea.
Yeah.
And you see the sea enemies with them.
Yeah.
And I don't believe anything is said.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No. Well, you guys can let us know down in the comments.
Yeah.
But I think that's where the season 1 ends.
Yeah.
It just ends like that. And then they jump. I think you jump back over to Master Splinter, right?
Pretty sure.
And he like closes it out, and that's the end of the second half.
Yeah.
A mutant seahorse named Sally flooded it, but Pete thinks it's a diversion. They're really trying to steal the pearl from the museum.
Yeah, that tracks. I mean, it's dumb, but why not? Sure.
Now going through everything, because I know I asked you at the beginning, what are some things you think they could improve upon,
This show,
or things that you like too?
I like the characters. Designs,
Mm-hmm.
a lot.
Me too.
I also like the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was a single, besides like Scumbug and Ray Flay, I don't really enjoy those two too much.
You don't like the ones that can't talk.
They can't talk.
Yeah.
They don't have much personality to them.
Right.
I get it, Scumbug's funny,
Yep.
but just
No,
kind of falls flat for me.
Me too. I feel the same way.
But there are a lot of good characters, like Pigeon Pete I fell in love with.
Yeah.
Metalhead I fell in love with.
Yep.
With the little I saw of Metalhead, I fell in love with it.
Yeah. And the Turtles, always great.
Always great.
Yeah, I think the Turtles are doing their job as good as they can.
This is my first time that Donatello's my favorite. Donatello has not really been my favorite in any show or movie,
Mm-hmm.
but in this version, Donatello's my favorite.
Yeah, I think each one of the turtle kind of shines in their own way.
Yeah.
It's not the worst thing I've seen.
Not by a landslide.
It's fun. There's some things that hurt my head when my brain when I'm trying to think of like, did these things happen? Didn't they? Like how we've been talking the whole episode.
Yeah. But I mean, at least it doesn't hurt my eyes like the Bay Turtles.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah. Yeah, those designs, as many viewers know, are not my favorite either. But yeah, I just think there's things that they can tighten up.
Yeah.
If they tighten up a few things,
This show could have been
even better.
even better.
Yeah. And I think season 2, they should strive to tighten those things up. I don't know.
I have high hopes for season 2. I think if they do what season 1 did, but just tighten things up a little bit.
A little bit more martial arts.
Yeah.
Maybe don't wait till the 6th episode to have a big fight scene. Maybe do like 1, 2, 3 big fight scene.
Yeah.
And then 3, 4, and then 4, 5, 6 big fight scene. Like, you know what I mean? Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, one big fight scene. Like, have more big fight scenes in between. I think
Yes.
that's what I would do. You'll create more retention, right?
Yeah.
You'll
More people would want to keep rewatching it for those fights.
because they know there's something right around the corner, a fight
Yep.
scene like that. They're
Exactly.
But if they feel like I feel like if people have to wait like 6 episodes for a fight scene and then another,
You want to
6
stop at
episodes-
episode 2.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is taking too long.
Yes.
It's nowadays. That's just. I feel like that's how I feel when I watch stuff like if it doesn't like hook me right away like that. I'm busy. You're
But
busy. We're all busy.
the times where they did do that,
Yep.
it kept me.
Yeah. Exactly.
I liked it.
Yep. And I'm talking about like other shows.
Yeah.
Like obviously anything Turtles I'm gonna watch. Like that's we cover. That's all we cover here. But like I'm just talking about just like my experiences with like television shows. Like if something doesn't hook me right away.
Yeah. You don't want to keep watching it.
No, everyone's busy.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's got different hobbies, different jobs,
do.
works. Yeah. Family. And and I think,
Which, another thing, speaking about that, they did not make this easy for us.
no,
As viewers or as somebody who works with Turtles.
just dropping everything at once was
Awful.
a nightmare.
Awful decision.
And I mean that in the most polite way possible, but that was a nightmare having to cover all 12 episodes.
Yeah.
It should be, I was talking to you about this before we started the podcast. The new Dragon Ball Daima show.
Mm-hmm.
It comes out on Netflix. I know it comes out like on Crunchyroll and stuff, but we have Netflix, so I just kind of watch it on Netflix like a week later or whatever when it comes out. But every week, a new episode comes out. At least for me.
And it keeps you.
Yeah.
It keeps you hooked. You're like, what's going to happen next week?
Yep. It does. It really does. And
if they wanted the viewer retention to be like that.
And not only that, you have like, what do you, like influencers, reviewers or whatever, covering it every week.
Yep.
But if you only release it once, and we only cover it once, then it gets forgotten about like that. It doesn't stay in the culture.
You get 12 weeks of marketing with releasing them once a week.
Yeah, and that's not to say like, oh, we're gonna be like, that's everybody.
Everybody
that wants to come.
that wants to watch it.
Not just us.
Not just us.
Yeah.
Everybody would talk about each episode every week, and that's 12 weeks of their show getting talked about.
Just in social media, on YouTube, everywhere.
Everywhere.
I think it was a massive missed opportunity dropping it all at once like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, moral of the story, drop weekly episodes, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's the best strategy.
That's for sure.
And more fight sequences, I think.
100%.
I think other than that, pretty decent.
That wraps it up.
Yeah, and that wraps it up for this podcast. Thank you for stopping by.
No problem.
That was a lot of fun.
Until the video game.
Yeah, Mutants Unleashed.
Mutants Unleashed.
We'll do a playthrough that takes place after the show, it seems like.
So we'll see if anything was real.
Yeah.
If anything was fake.
Yeah.
But it seems like Metalhead's in it, so...
Yeah, there's a pack for him or something like that, so we'll put that up. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. We'll put that up as soon as we're done playing the game. But thanks everybody for watching.
Make sure to follow on all the socials.
Yes, and check out the website, www.theoldturtleden.com. And yeah, thanks everybody. We'll see you in a little bit with another video. Take care.